So again, welcome, and we're going to talk all about our live online training environment, as well as how to basically register and get ready for any classes that you might be interested in taking. So I am the education specialist manager for IMAGINiT. I've been teaching and implementing software support for over 16 years. I moved into more of a dedicated education role, about 12 years ago, and then about 9 years ago moved into the manager role, but I still do teach a decent amount of the time as well. I am an Autodesk certified instructor and also certified in the AutoCAD and Civil 3D software. So today we're going to talk about online training and how it is really not that different than what a lot of us are used to going in to an actual training classroom. So we're going to look at what we do with our online training and how it compares. We'll look at the online process, the virtual labs that we work with, and how that can be very beneficial to you and to me as the instructor. We'll also go into the actual website and look at how to find the classes that you might want to take. And get the information you might need for those classes, and also how to go ahead and register and enroll in those classes. We'll also spend a little time talking about just our classes in general and the expertise that you get along with the class material from our instructors and the certifications that we have and the processes we go through to make sure we provide you with the best training possible. So what is live online training? The first thing that I want to start with right away is this is not e-learn. So a lot of times people hear online and they immediately think it's kind of an e-learn, self-paced environment. And that is not what is happening. We are actually teaching the class. It is completely interactive in a virtual environment, but it's completely interactive. We actually teach pretty much the same way online as we do in person. Half of my 16 years was more in person, and about half of that 16 years has been more dedicated to an online environment. And to be honest with you, the way that I teach really does not change. We teach in a lecture demo activity format, so we discuss the topic, we demonstrate the topic, and then we give you a chance to try it with the manual and the data sets that are provided. When we are doing our lectures, we have PowerPoints that we are able to use to kind of keep you engaged because it is online versus in person. When you do the exercises, the instructor is able to supervise those student exercises fully, and that is because of our virtual machines that we use. And we'll talk a little bit more about those in a little bit, but they have been extensively enhanced as of 2020 to give great visual effects to the instructors. And to be honest with you, in the 16 years that I've trained, I have some of the most visibility that I've ever had being able to use the virtual machine, because I can see all of your machines all at the same time and see exactly when you might need help. So this is completely interactive and engaged training. The virtual machines that we use also allow you to not have to have access to the software. So this is a very important piece. Not everyone owns the software. You might be between jobs, you might have just graduated from college. Maybe you want to do the class at home and you don't have like a home license with your company that you can use. All of that is resolved because of the virtual machines that we use. You do not have to have the software on your computer to be able to take the classes. And you don't have to have the most current version of the software to be able to take our classes. Also, we do cap the classes at 8 students. So we do not have very large classes. We do try to keep them smaller so that you can have more individualized attention as we progress through class. This is also for us as the instructors to make sure that we are able to review the virtual labs and not have too many we're trying to review at the same time, so that we can constantly be able to see if any of you need help at any time for us to kind of step in and help with an exercise. And control the chat box or the unmuting with questions, and it keeps the class moving at a very nice pace. So we do cap those classes at 8 students. In terms of the virtual labs, So at IMAGINiT, we've actually used virtual labs since 2017. But as mentioned, in 2020, we incorporated ReadyTech, and this has been amazing. As mentioned before, currently the visibility that I have when I teach is at its peak. It's the best that I've ever had. It's even better than when I used to teach in person because I can see your labs all at the same time. One big thing is that you as students, you can see your screen and my screen at the same time. There is no back and forth, which used to be an issue many years ago. Now, if you have dual monitors, which are not required but heavily recommended, you could have your screen share on one side and your virtual lab on the other. We use Teams for the screen share, so I have the software on my desktop and I share my screen just like I'm sharing this presentation now. And I use the Teams for that. That's also how we do the audio. And if you want to use the chat box, you can use the chat box as well, just kind of like today with the GoToWebinar. And if you have dual monitor, you can put the Teams on one side and your virtual machine on the other side, and you have a very seamless training environment as you progress through class. I do the same thing as the instructor. I have a virtual machine to be able to see your virtual machines, and I put it on one monitor, and then I'm sharing my other monitor, and I can see everything happening all at the same time. This makes it very easy for you to be able to follow along if necessary, or be able to see your software as you're seeing me make adjustments. Very nice environment. Everyone's using the same machine template, so there's no version issues. Sometimes companies have varying versions within your offices, so this resolves a lot of that. And as previously mentioned, if you don't have software on your personal computer and you're wanting to tape the class maybe at home, you would be able to do that. It's a very easy sign-in process, and it's all browser-based, so there's no app installation. So some companies that have had very protected environments with their systems where you can't download any kind of apps that have previously been used in the past, that is resolved because this is all browser-based. So your Teams, you do not have to download anything, you just click a link. Same with the virtual machine, you just click a link. We download all of the data sets to the virtual machines before you have class. So everything is there ready to go for you the first day. Everything's signed in, the software's up and running, and you're ready to jump straight in. So why would you want to learn virtually? We do have a dedicated team of instructors that are solely for that online environment, as well as other instructors on other teams that we use sometimes that do a mix of in-person and online training. The trainers that we work with have extensive experience with that online environment. As mentioned before, I've been teaching online for 8 or 9 years now, so I'm very used to that environment and very experienced with how to handle and keep it engaged and exciting for you as we go through class. All of our instructors are specific to the industry that they're teaching in. So you have people that have been in the field or have a degree in, civil for infrastructure, or you have architects or architectural drafters that have been in the field for a long time teaching the AEC, and same with manufacturing. So you have instructors that have experience in the environment with teaching and with the software and with the industry. All the classes that we offer do have course material that come along with the classes. So we have training guides and data sets that come with those. In most cases, the classes that we're teaching are using Ascent Manuals. That is our sister company that develops the course content. That is what's used at the majority of the time for the classes, but every single class does have some form of course material available. That will be either in a hard copy book or ebook, depending on your preference. The only caveat to that is if you do sign up within a 7-day window for a class, you may have to get the ebook just because of shipping time, because those are coming from Canada. So if you are in the US, we do need to allow about 7 days for the book to be received. So if you do sign up for a class closer to the actual class time, you may have to get the ebook for the class itself. You can always request a hard copy later though. All of the course material has data sets. As mentioned, those would be downloaded already available to you on the virtual machine, but you are also able to download those to your personal computer or work computer to have as a takeaway and review and go back and play with. One very big thing about learning virtually is just convenience. So there's no added time or travel expense. You're not having to go into an office and go out and get lunch and deal with some of those issues that maybe people have had in the past. And to be honest, there are still situations in the US and Canada that offices are not necessarily fully open to be able to have the training that you might want to have, or even in your own personal office, you may have to do something at home. So being able to do the classes virtually is very beneficial. It creates an environment for you to be comfortable and nice and quiet for your training. In terms of the class itself, as previously mentioned, I, as the instructor, can actually take control over the virtual machine that you're working with if you need help. So I do have that initial visibility that I can see. I also can expand that screen to fill my monitor if I really need to look a little closer at what you're doing. And then if there's more of an issue where I need to actually physically take control of the machine and help even further, I have the ability to do that. So I have that almost hands-on experience that you would potentially have in an in-person class, even though we are virtual. You do have the ability to have real-time questions. So we do have the chat box with the teams, and of course you also have your audio, so you can unmute at any time and ask questions as instructors are going through their demonstrations or as you're doing your exercises. So it is completely interactive throughout the entire class. We also do try to provide as much industry experience to the classes that we teach. There's something called buttonology. That's a term that's sometimes thrown around a lot, and it basically is picks and clicks. We don't just teach picks and clicks. Our goal is to also teach you the why, not just the how, and add our personal experiences to the training. Many of our instructors have been in the industry for a long time and use the software in projects, and everyone's, had made mistakes. They've had successes, and we try to incorporate that into our training so that you know why it's best practice to do certain things. With all of that said, online training is like being in the classroom. You just don't have the actual classroom environment. But as mentioned before, I teach the class exactly the same as if I was in person or online. I'm giving you all of that same feedback, and I have all of that same visibility because of these amazing virtual machines that we're working. So about our classes in general, for a live online perspective, we offer a little over 50 classes regularly online. Those do have different frequency based on the popularity of the classes. Obviously, AutoCAD is a class that a lot of people need, and so that's going to be offered more frequently, sometimes 2 to 3 times a month. When you get into more specialty software like InfoWorks and Advanced Steel, you might see that offered quarterly. We do offer a wide range of industries and software options, and then we also do offer those in multiple time zones. In general, if it's a more commonly used software or commonly used class, again, such as AutoCAD or most of the fundamental levels of the 4 core software, AutoCAD, Revit, Inventor, and Civil, you might see it offered twice a month, once for Eastern Standard Time and once in Mountain Time. Some of the classes that may be less frequent, like your InfoWorks and Advanced Steel, or a specialty class that might be for Revit, Inventor, Civil, you might see that offered once every 2 months or even once a quarter. Those are going to be offered Central Time. That is pretty standard across the board. The classes are 9 to 5, regardless of the time zone. It is 9 to 5 for whatever time zone that particular class is set. Every class, we take 10 to 15-minute morning and afternoon breaks just to make sure everybody gets a chance to, check emails, run to the restroom, just take a breather. And then we take about an hour for lunch, whatever's a good kind of stopping point for lunch. So all of our classes are pretty standard and run that way. We do have different levels of classes. We have a lot of fundamentals classes to the main core software, and then we do also have some intermediate and advanced classes, as well as learning paths that I'll show you that help you determine the order in which you should take some classes if there's going to be multi-level classes that you would take. So in terms of registering for classes, we are going to get into the website and just look at it a little bit to make sure that you're comfortable with the environment. So the website does have a dedicated training location, and there's various things that you can look at here. We're going to look at the class schedule and look at some of the filter options, as well as some of the learning paths that we have available for you. So it's a very nice environment to kind of filter dates, whether you're wanting to look just at online, the software that you might be focused on looking at. If you were doing in person, you could also look at the state option if you were trying to filter that out as well. We also have a full course catalog. So if you wanted to see the full course scope of courses that we offer just kind of at one big glance instead of by date, that sometimes can be a little bit easier environment to review the course offerings. So we'll look at all those different scenarios on the website here shortly. As you are registering, you can click the name of any class that you're interested in looking at more information on. Every single class has a course overview and detailed course description. Also, it has a PDF that has information on the actual detailed data that you might see in that class. So basically the table of contents, and that's downloadable so that if you needed to review with maybe some coworkers or a manager, it would be easy to look at the information to see what is going to be in that particular class. There's also prereqs that you might want to double check and make sure that you are not forgetting about. And then there's also a few other things on that page that we'll talk about when we get into the actual website. You also have the ability to look at the schedule to get more details, such as the date, the class time, which again is pretty much always 9 to 5. Most importantly, verify your time zone and location if it was not an online class and an in-person class. So a lot more data that you would be able to see as you kind of go into that class environment. When you click enroll, this is where you would be able to pay for the class or add any promos that might be going on at that time. Let's go ahead and actually get into the website and start looking at it. So if I go just to the main website, IMAGINIT.com, and come over to training, I can go over to class schedule, and it brings me to the main environment. And as we progress into new versions of software, you're going to see actually little icons if the version has adjusted. So usually we're getting to that close to that time that the versioning is going to switch, and since we are in May, I will go ahead and speak to this. Generally in a July timeframe, we switch versions. So not every class will immediately switch from 2023 to 2024, but most of the main, again, fundamental classes you'll start to see those transitions from 2023 to 2024 in that July timeframe. So kind of be looking out for that. Usually there's something up here kind of like this that's a little more of a reminder that some of those versions can change. Again, it doesn't matter what version you are using in your company though, because you are using the virtual machines, which will have the current version. So you don't have to be concerned with, well, what if I'm using 2022 still? That is fine because of the virtual machine. So this would be what you would see initially for your class options. As mentioned, one thing that's really nice is being able to go to this full list of courses, which will be alphabetized. You are able to filter based on a software. So if you were only looking at classes that might have to do with Civil 3D, you could filter to that. So these would just be classes that would relate to somebody that would be working with Civil 3D. Or you can look at everything and it be alphabetized, whichever option you want to do. You have a similar filter with the industry as well. Again, if I pick civil and civil engineering, I'm probably going to get similar results. So I can scroll through and review the classes. I will say that there are a handful of classes on this full course catalog that are not necessarily on the calendar. That is because they are more specialty classes or software that is not used as often. AutoCAD Architecture Fundamentals is a great example. We have the ability to still offer this class, but you're not going to see it actually on the calendar. And so that would be a scenario where you would want to contact us. So just kind of keep that in mind. There are about 10 to 12 classes out of this full list that are not necessarily on the actual calendar, but the majority of them are. So if I click on one of these, I get more information to review. So I'm going to be able to see the course overview as well as the main topics that are going to be covered and the prereqs. The prereqs are very important to review. AutoCAD Electrical is a great example. This class focuses on the electrical tools in AutoCAD. So if you are very new to AutoCAD, you might want to take AutoCAD first because you do need a very good working knowledge of the AutoCAD software before you would take this particular class. So always double check your prereqs to make sure that you are good to jump into that class. And if you ever have any questions at all, you can always email us to verify. Sometimes, you know, you may need help deciding whether essentials or beyond the basics is going to be for you. So feel free to always email us for us to help you determine which would be the best course for you to take. At the top, you will see, in most cases, a course description. And this just provides a little bit more a detail. I'll hit this button here to expand it. So this will actually show the breakdown of the chapters. So not just the course overview, but it'll go into a little more depth on what you'll actually be covering in the class itself. So this can also be very beneficial to print off to help decide what might be the best course for you to take. You can do comparisons. You can also click this view schedule and enroll now. This will actually list the classes that are currently offered. It will show the in-person and the live online options. When you click on any of these, this gives you a lot more information about the actual schedule. So it kind of clears up a little bit, even though the main page tells you how many days the course is. This just, you know, makes it a little easier to see. I know I mentioned that all classes are 9 to 5. That is for live online. So just the focus of this presentation is live online. So in person, the schedule may vary a little bit. For live online, it is always 9 to 5. This will also list the time zone. If it is a in-person class, then it is the time zone for that location, since we're on that topic. Okay, so 9 to 5 Eastern would be this class. And then if you're satisfied with that particular class and you want to take it, you would just click enroll, and this is where you would be able to pay for the class and add a promo. If I go back, I'm going to click on, you also have the main page as well. So we went to the full course list. We also can just go to the main class schedule and filter to actually see what's currently being offered. So let's say I'm only looking at online. And I am looking at only doing Revit classes. And I only want to look at classes that are starting maybe sometime in mid-June. Okay, you'll notice the colors are changing here. The gold means it's guaranteed to run. Okay, so if it's blue, that means maybe no one signed up yet, so it's not necessarily guaranteed. If no one signs up within 2 weeks of the class, it will be pulled from the schedule. If it is confirmed, it will stay on the schedule up until a couple days before the class will actually run. Or unless it's full, it might pull from the schedule as well. But the The gold means someone has signed up, it's confirmed, it's officially happening. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. But you can use these filters to see a little more specific to what you want on the actual schedule. And if I go to maybe one of these, I basically go to the same thing that we saw before, okay? I wanted to go to this one to point something else out here. And this is the sneak peek. We do not have this for every single class yet, but we do have them for a large portion. My goal is very soon to have this for every single class. What this is basically a 5-minute or so video, and I'm going to leave the audio off just so it's not distracting, but it's basically a video that goes through what you're going to learn in that class. Everyone learns differently, and reading just a course description or seeing just some table of contents may not really make it clear exactly what you're going to learn in that class. So we put together these little 5-minute videos, 5 to 6 minute videos, and they go over the actual content visually of what you would cover start to finish. So just another piece to kind of help you understand what might be happening in that particular class. So we do have those for a large portion of our courses, not necessarily every single one yet, but we are working on that. So definitely take a peek at those sneak peeks, and that might help you determine if that's the right class for you. We did have a question. The pricing is on the website, yes. So that would be listed with the class itself when you go to look at the date and time that you might want to specify. And it will show up when you go to enroll as well. So yes, that would be there. Another thing I want to point out on this class schedule page is the learning paths that we have created. So we have them by 3 different industries. And if you click one of them, it's a PDF. And again, I'll expand this. And this is just all of the classes that you might want to take. And this would be the order in which you would take them if you needed to take all of those classes. So for example, if you're more in the architectural world, you'd want to start with that Revit fundamentals, and then it would progress on to maybe doing some BIM management and family creation and conceptual design, etc. Or if you were more in the structures world, same thing, you might have a certain flow that you would take. It might include Navisworks. If you were maybe in the manufacturing, come back to this page here. So this would be, are you doing mechanical? You might want to take that AutoCAD Essentials class first before you take AutoCAD Mechanical Essentials. Same with electrical. You might want to make sure you're good with your AutoCAD before you take that AutoCAD. This is a great example with a mechanical engineer. Have you had 3D experience before? So did you use SolidWorks maybe? If you've used SolidWorks, maybe you'll go straight into the Experienced 3D CAD Users, which is a 3-day class. If you're new to Inventor and to 3D modeling, you might take the Intro to Solid Modeling class, which is 5 days. A lot of the content is similar in these 2 classes, just very different pace to the class based on whether you have 3D drafting knowledge or not. So these learning paths can be very beneficial to kind of help you gauge what you would do next. So definitely take a look at those and let those help you. Now let's say that you get registered for your class. What happens next? Once you've registered for your class, you'll receive an email from the training coordinators kind of verifying whether you want a hard copy book or an ebook and what address to send that to. A handful of the manuals do have varying units, so you may have the option to pick a unit like metric versus imperial. Sometimes that is an option. It is not across the board, so it is kind of specific to the manual. As mentioned, if you do register, maybe just 4 or 5 days out, you're probably going to be needing to get the ebook because the hard copy book would not be able to be mailed to you in time. But if it's outside of that 7 business day window, then you would be able to choose whether hard copy or ebook option. In terms of communication with how to access all the class information, the week before your class, about midweek before the class, you will receive your Teams meeting invite and your virtual machine link. It'll all be in a login email. Both links will be in that email. And the day of class, you will be able to access your virtual machine and the Teams meeting. The virtual machines are set up 30 minutes before and after the start time of class. So our classes, as mentioned, were 9 to 5. The machines are set up 8:30 to 5:30. So you have a little time every day in class to get in there a little early and also stay in there a little bit after class if you want to continue playing with it, especially if you don't own the software and you want to have the chance to just kind of spend a little bit more time in there playing with it. You would have the ability to do so. All of the information you need from class, if you want to make sure you check internet connection and just make sure everything's good, all of that's going to be in that login email that you receive the week before class starts. The first day of class, the instructor would already have the data sets loaded, and you would join the class and make sure audio and everything's good to go. And the data sets will already be loaded on the virtual lab. The software will be launched, and you basically will be ready to hit the ground running and start class. We very rarely ever have any kind of delays in class because of how easy it is to work with the virtual labs and the Teams meetings. Do make sure that if you want to use a mic, you know, that the mic for the Teams meeting is hopefully working for you, and try to check that before class. Anytime we do have anyone that has any issues with their mic settings, you do still have the chat box. So you have a lot of variations in how you can communicate with the instructor, either verbally or at least through the chat box if needed. In terms of the virtual machine, I do actually have one active that I want to show. So this is basically what you have. So I have this is browser based. You can see this is just, I'm just in the internet. Microsoft Edge or Chrome is preferred. This is my virtual machine as the instructor. And this is what I see, is all of my students' machines. I can double click to expand this. So maybe Abby here is having trouble getting her software to launch, or she can't find it. I could take control over her machine and help her launch the software if she needed help getting that started. The data sets would be in whatever file folder would be appropriate for the class. That might be the desktop or the C drive. All the files are kind of set up differently. And then you would be able to access the software and immediately launch data sets and work on exercises with the manual that you have. And you can kind of see how, again, I can take control of the software, move it around. I would be able to watch all of the students working on the exercises all at the same time. And again, make it larger if I need to see something a little more specific, and even take control. Now, if I minimize this, you can see I'm basically in a virtual machine. This is basically what you see as the student. You would have your Teams invite on one monitor and you would have this on another monitor. Or if you do only have one monitor, it's browser based, so you are able to minimize and maximize back and forth. But this is the environment that you would be working in directly. So when you sign into your virtual machine, this is what you would see. And you'd be able to immediately start working. So it's incredible visibility, again, for the instructor, because I'm able to just put this over. I actually have a larger monitor. So even if I have 8 computers, I can control the sizes of them here. So you can see if I have 8 computers, I put this over on a larger monitor on the side, and I can see everybody working all at the same time. And I can step in and help as needed. Of course, if you ask questions, I can come in and watch, see what you did, see maybe where you made a mistake, and step in and help. Incredible visibility. I absolutely love this ReadyTech system and this virtual lab system that we have. So to wrap things up, we've talked about how our classes work and our virtual machines and the website, but let's talk a little bit about why you would even do training in general. Regardless of whether it's online, in person, why train? So obviously, if you're new to the software, that's going to be an important thing. If you're new to the industry, sometimes there's a lot of collaboration nowadays and a lot of cross-discipline. So we have people that are actually taking a lot of classes that cross those disciplines, like in the AEC world, they might be taking some architectural and some civil classes and be trying to learn both backgrounds on those software. If you're new to the company and they may have certain ways they like to do things or certain tasks, you might take training to get more familiar with that. And it may just be that you need a refresher. I've had a lot of students over the years that used AutoCAD or any other software for that matter for 10 years. And then they are in a role, they get moved into a role where they have to be in the factory a lot, or they have to be out in the field a lot, and they're not able to literally be in the software like they used to be. And they come back 5, 6, 10 years later, and they need a refresher. They just need a reminder of how does all this work? It's been a long time since I've been in there, and the software changes a lot. There's a big difference between 2010 and 2023. The other thing to think about is software is like an iceberg. That might sound kind of silly to you, but if you think of an iceberg, what you see with an iceberg is usually see the very top piece, right? And then the majority of it's underneath the water, and you don't even see it. Autodesk software, and just like many other software, is just like this. We are used to the commands we're used to using in our office. We're used to what is just right in our face, right on the main part of the ribbon. That is what we're used to seeing. And there is an extensive amount of information that is in the software. AutoCAD, which is our base software, our lowest level base software, alone has 11 days of classes if you took every single class for every single topic that you would want to learn. And I teach those, and I can tell you there's still stuff that's not in those manuals. That's 11 days of content just for AutoCAD, let alone the extensive aspects of Revit, Inventor, and Civil. So a lot of times we don't realize how many tasks we aren't familiar with, or how many processes that could be saving us hours on our drafting that we don't know is there because it's kind of hidden in that software and it's not right in your face. So our training helps you go from what you're used to seeing to what you'll actually need and for your design processes. Validation of knowledge is also a very important piece to education. Even for myself, I'm constantly doing professional development and validating and making sure the way I did something 10 years ago is still the best way to do it, or has something changed, software changes. A lot of us are self-taught. I originally was self-taught. Many of you may be self-taught or taught by employees that were also self-taught. So validation of your knowledge, making sure you're actually doing things the way that you should be, is very important. And it's worth the training. Even if you're not sure you should take that essentials, a lot of people take the essentials classes, even if they have some experience, just to make sure they're doing things the right way. And so validation of your knowledge is incredibly important. And with our training in general, just focusing on the benefits that you get, you have a structured learning environment, lecture, demo, activity. We discuss the topic, we demo the topic, and you always have a chance to try that topic yourself. So you're getting all the aspects of learning. You are getting classes from certified instructors in the field. So all of our instructors are Autodesk certified instructors, meaning they've been taught to train properly in an online and an in-person environment. They are certified in the software. We're required to stay on top of that professional training development. So we have to stay certified in whatever we're teaching, Civil 3D, AutoCAD, Revit, etc. And then we have industry experience, and we try to bring that to class. We try to give you all of our knowledge and everything we've done right and everything we've done wrong so that you don't make the same mistakes that we made. And we do have other learning options like PNow for continuing learning and support, as well as just support in general. With our training, you obviously get the takeaways we've talked about with the manual and the data sets, but you do also have 2 hours of follow-up that you're welcome to use if you have some further questions. It does need to relate to the class itself, but maybe you were struggling with the piece and just didn't quite understand chapter 10. You could come back and we could set up a 2 hour, 1 or 2 hour meeting and make sure you get that knowledge covered. So you can always kind of come back and get that necessary help. In terms of who to contact, you can review various areas of our website. We have a resource section that actually has some best practices to training, why train. I believe this is probably something that will be on there as well to refer back to if you have any questions. So a great location just to get further information or remind yourself of something you may have already seen. Obviously, going to our training page directly will have a lot of information, and of course the class schedule is going to be where you see all of your information. If you have a sales rep, you feel free to talk to them, and you can also contact us through the website. You can contact us directly, but there's also a lovely little chat box that has a lot of actually good information on it. So like as you click, you can click classes, and it's actually got great information kind of talking about how we have virtual machines and everything like that. So the training bot is helpful, and there is a place as you kind of progress through talking to this little training chat box that allows you to actually ask to talk to a human, as you can see. So a lot of ways that you can access us if you need questions. And always feel free to email us with questions, especially when maybe you have a specialty field and the learning path doesn't fit you as well. Email us. You're not sure if you can avoid that prereq. You know, can I just go straight into that AutoCAD electrical? Is the little bit of AutoCAD knowledge I have, am I good? Email us. We can get an instructor with you and call you and verify if you're heading into the right class. Is that intro to solid modeling that's 5-day, or that experienced 3D users that's 3-day? You can't decide between the two. You don't know if you're knowledgeable enough to do the 3-day more fast-paced, or do you need to slow it down and do the 5-day? We can have an instructor that's in those classes talk to you and kind of help gauge that for you. So always reach out to us, reach out to your sales rep. They know they can reach out to us as instructors as well, and we're here to help you. So I will open it up to questions at this point.